Okay, let's dive into this explainer. Today, we're unpacking a story that completely upends everything we think we know about wealth. And honestly, the raw power of mindset. We're tracking the journey of a man who went from begging at a traffic signal to owning a thriving business. And the crazy part? This wasn't through a lottery ticket or some massive charitable handout. It was entirely through a profound psychological shift. Let's break down exactly how this happened. So ask yourself, can a simple mindset shift actually turn a street beggar into a successful business owner? Now, I know our natural defense mechanism is to immediately say, no way. You need capital, you need connections. But as we navigate through this explainer, just keep this question in the back of your mind. We're going to trace the literal strategic pivots that made this completely impossible transformation a reality. All right, picture this. It's a busy Monday morning, total chaos. Blaring horns, frustrated commuters everywhere. And walking between these cars is a man in torn clothes, holding a crushed metal bowl. Now, his strategy? It's just random begging. He's approaching every single car, just hoping someone, anyone, will drop in a coin. You know, it's a deeply frustrating, soul-crushing kind of existence because it's built entirely on hoping for the random charity of strangers. Now, amidst this daily grind, there was one recurring character, and that was a sleek black luxury car. For our protagonist, this car was basically a beacon of false hope. He just assumed the wealthy businessman sitting inside could easily spare some cash. But time after time, the window stayed rolled up tight. Not a single rupee. And over time, that hope actually curdled into deep anger. The car literally became a physical symbol of his victimhood, this daily reminder of what others had and what they completely refused to give him. But then, the inciting incident happens. One day, the window of that black car finally rolls down. The businessman buys some peanuts from a vendor and tells him to keep the change. Seeing this open window, the beggar rushes over, right? He demands to know why the rich man never gives him anything. And the businessman just looks calmly at him and asks, "You expect things from everyone, but have you ever given anything to anyone?" He tells the beggar that if he genuinely believes he has absolutely nothing to offer, well, he has no right to expect anything in return. That night was a sleepless one. The businessman's words just kept echoing in his head, and it sparked this massive internal shift. He moved completely away from a mindset of expectation, constantly asking, who will give to me, and transitioned to a mindset of provision, asking instead, what can I give? He realized that if he could just provide something of value, he was no longer at the mercy of others. He'd be participating in a real, actual exchange. But, what could a beggar possibly give? He had zero money, zero inventory. But he did remember this one time he handed a plucked flower to a child, and just the pure joy it brought. Now, he slept near the railroad tracks, which was an area completely overgrown with wild plants. So early the next morning, he gathered up as many of these free wildflowers as he possibly could. They weren't arranged professionally or anything, but they were a resource. He realized a totally crucial truth here. Everyone has something of value to offer, even if it's literally just something freely available right in their own environment. So he went back to the traffic signal, but with a completely new approach. Instead of that crushed metal bowl, he brought flowers and a massive smile. He started handing them to drivers, just wishing them a happy day. And suddenly, people who normally just tossed him pity coins were handing him crisp 10-rupee notes. Why? Because, well, pity is cheap, right? But value is actually worth paying for. He was no longer a nuisance to these people. He was a bright spot in an otherwise stressful commute. A few weeks later, the black luxury car returns. The beggar is thrilled. He walks right up to the businessman and says, "Look, I have something to give you today." The businessman smiles, accepts the flowers, and hands him a 100-rupee note. But he leaves him with another absolute game-changer of a lesson. He says, next time, give the flower first and ask for the money later. The beggar implements this immediately. He simply gives the value up front. The people who wanted the flowers took them, and those who did felt completely compelled by the rule of reciprocity. And just like that, his earnings jumped again. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is seeing him evolve from a simple vendor into a true strategist. The businessman advised him to find the right audience, so he asks himself, who really needs flowers? And he realizes, it's couples. He starts actively scanning the traffic, spots a boyfriend and girlfriend in a really tense argument, and just steps right in to offer a makeshift bouquet. The argument dissolves into a smile, and the incredibly grateful boyfriend pays him handsomely. He wasn't just selling flowers anymore, he was providing a real-time solution to a problem. And man, for the very first time, he didn't just feel like a survivor on the streets, he felt like a real business owner. He identified a problem and he provided a targeted solution. But this sudden success brought a really critical decision. What exactly to do with the extra cash? The mindset of poverty always says consume it today, but he chose differently. He chose to reinvest. To be taken seriously by wholesale vendors, he took his first profits and bought a clean shirt. He literally invested in his own brand. And as you'll see here, his long-term growth accelerated rapidly because of that reinvestment. Back in week 1, he was picking free flowers by the tracks. By week 3, he's wearing that crisp, clean shirt to negotiate prices at the market. By month 2, demand is so crazy high he has to hike way down the tracks just for fresh supply. And soon enough, he realizes he simply can't cover all the traffic alone. He completely shifts away from that daily wage mindset and starts thinking seriously about how to scale his operations. The businessman returns a few months later, sees the man in his clean shirt running this surprisingly smooth flower operation, and completely acknowledges the incredible progress. But true to form, he leaves him with one final pushing piece of advice. He tells him, "Don't stop here. Think bigger." He challenged him to never, ever become complacent with his current level of success, urging him to scale that vision even further. Okay, fast forward 6 months. The wealthy businessman is sitting inside a local cafe, just enjoying a cup of coffee. A well-dressed man walks right up to his table, smiling warmly, holding this absolutely beautiful, professional flower basket. The businessman squints, trying to place the face. I mean, he has absolutely no idea who this confident, sharply dressed person is. That is, until the man says, "Hey, it's me, from the traffic signal." Stunned, the businessman asks what he's doing there, and the former beggar delivers the ultimate climax to our story. He says, "I supply all the floral arrangements for this cafe." He actually took the advice to think bigger. He knew he couldn't handle the growing demand alone, so he went back to the streets, gathered up his former friends, and offered them food and a purpose. Now, he's a legitimate business owner who not only secured a major commercial contract, but has entirely uplifted his community in the process. So the crucial point is, extracting the core lessons from this story gives us these 5 pillars of wealth. First, value creation. You've got to figure out how to be genuinely useful. Second, give first. Always offer value before expecting a return. Third, target audience. Find and sell to the people who desperately need your specific solution. Fourth, reinvest. Use your earnings to fuel your growth. And finally, number 5, think bigger. Never ever settle for your current level of success. The man in our story started with literally nothing but some weeds by a railway track and a firm decision to change his mindset. He stopped waiting around to be saved and instead started actively looking for ways to serve. So, I'm going to leave you with this. What value can you create with what you already have today? Your skills, your knowledge, or maybe even just your positive energy? There is a specific audience out there just waiting for it. You just have to give it first.